organization that we deal with at the GTI level, or the Grant Thornton International level, is humongous. The GTUS is definitely one of the bigger players, well, the biggest player of it, and an important player of it, but that what we're involved with is global, and that GTUS and the other member firms of Grant Thornton International, really, if they want to succeed going into the future, we need to be working together. Within 5 hours of that phone call in the afternoon, I had him connected with two partners, one out of Beijing, one out of Shanghai, and we were on a phone call with them. And then the next day, those two individuals flew down to southern China to meet with the individuals who were looking at this engagement. Well, it turns out that this is going to be a U.S. over $1 million for the China firm for a U.S. listing here in the United States. Engagement letter signed, $500,000 already received in our hands for a retainer. So it's developing that personal brand, and you see dividends paid consistently. Even after you're done.
Awesome. Do you want to ask the?
And then the next question is, how did GT help you with your journeys overseas with your family?
That is going over there. It just wasn't myself, obviously. So I have two kids, my wife, of course, and a dog. Dog's part of the family. He's a Chinese breed anyways, so he had more, I guess, more cause to go for it than us, right? But they took care of it from start to finish. They contracted, the right individuals to do the move. There was subcontractors and other individuals that, my wife would deal with, I would deal with, that were coordinating the international move from start to finish. And, there were a few issues, with some things with the move, and whoever we contracted just took care of it. It was great. Here I thought I'd be holding the bag. Within just a few emails, things were absolutely taken care of. So it was absolutely seamless. At times you think that you move halfway across the world, it could be very problematic. It was like moving down the street. And then also, the firm was very generous with housing and cost of living allowances, to where, to the best of what you can do there in China, living a Western lifestyle, if you want to opt into that. And so, of course, we wanted the comforts from home. Those comforts can get expensive, but that was all taken care of through, generous allowances.
That's good to hear. And then the last question is, what was your favorite part of the experience, and what advice would you give to those interested in secondments or future secondees?
Yeah, so, my favorite, most memorable parts of the experience, they're just too numerous to name, but some of the most memorable parts was me having the opportunity to deal with very high level individuals, either within executives here at the GTUS level, GTI level, and also the China level. Was one of my more memorable experiences was dealing with a U.S. delegation from the AICPA. We had our president there, and conversing and interacting with pretty much, the political appointees there, who were part of the CSRC, that's the equivalent of our SEC, and their CICPA. It was absolutely fantastic. It was it's almost the equivalent of, here I was going down into the government offices just adjacent to Tiananmen Square, dealing with these individuals and interacting with them. Now, the CPA profession, it's young in China. It's less than 30 years old, and looking back, even though I wasn't one of the first pioneers dealing with it, I guess I could be one of the secondary or pioneers of promoting and developing the profession there. It just was not GTUS driven. I think I helped develop in a small part, right? a growing profession there in China, which is now the second largest economy in the world.
Okay. Those are all our questions, but I have another one just.
And okay, I didn't answer one.
Oh, the
Didn't ask your-
advice?
Yeah.
Which one?
If
The
you
advice?
have the opportunity, do it. Common sense is going to talk you out of it, but ignore that common sense for once, and take the opportunity. You're going to be surprised that you'll have abilities and things in there that just come out of nowhere, and that you'll be able to take things on your own, or we're a big network. There's always a lot of other resources to do it. So again, I felt like this opportunity was hitting a gold mine. I'm glad I took it, and have never looked back and thought that it was a bad decision with my personal life, my family life, or my career.
Awesome. Yeah, just curious. How was the language barrier? Did you speak Chinese before you went? Did you learn it?
So, now looking back, I've spent 10% of my life in Asia. Before China, I lived in Japan for a few years. That was, prior to marriage and stuff like that. I am conversationally fluent in Japanese, but that doesn't get you too far in China. Helps with a little bit of the reading, but language, no. I had a tutor there, and my wife had a tutor, and of course the kids had things at school. We made the conscious decision to live in the central business district in Beijing. We didn't live in a expat compound, so we, our neighbors were Chinese to the most extent, and so you got to pick up the language, right? When in Rome. However, I didn't develop the language as much as I did as when I was in Japan, really because by the time I conversed pretty much everything in English, and I required things to happen in English when things came to me, just primarily because if you think about it, I was the chief U.S. GAAP and SEC resource in Northern China. If something hit my desk, when it left, it had to be right. So I could not afford any errors in translation. So business-wise and all those things, it was pretty much done in English. But then outside of work, I could get around. When you go to some of the off-skirt places in China, you would see the taxi drivers just kind of freak out because some white guy is trying to get in his taxi and it's going to make his life a little difficult. Well, the second you start spouting off your fundamental awful Chinese, but it's enough to get through, it's a big sigh of relief. He says thanks, and you figure things out yourself or together. But over 2 years, I was able to get some of the language. But my kids to this day, they developed it a lot better. My son was just at Hermosa Beach where we live, and he was talking to a guy, and the guy was from China and instantly picked up. He said, "Oh, you lived in Beijing because you have a Beijing accent."
Bingo.
So that's I guess that was a compliment to my son.